Sunset Boulevard has conventions of classical Hollywood cinema. Classical Hollywood cinema displays the main characters' goals, what obstacles they face throughout their journey, and the end result of their efforts. The three-act plot structure is typically where their goals, obstacles, and results show. During the first act, which introduces us to the characters, their situation, and the setting of the movie, we're introduced to Norma Desmond.
I've made up my mind we'll bury him in the garden. Any city laws against that?
Joe Grills and Max von Merling.
There's some men outside. They asked for you.
I'm not here.
Norma's goals were to be a big star, just like how she was before.
There was a time in this business when they had the eyes of the whole wide world. But that wasn't good enough for them. Oh, no. They had to have the ears of the world, too.
So she wrote a script with her being the star, hoping for it to be produced. Joe is a broke scriptwriter, and his goals were to earn money and to be able to write a script that's good enough to sell to Paramount. Max was previously director, but now is Norma's butler and also ex-husband, and he wants to be able to stay with Norma Desmond and keep up with making her feel like the star she once was. Next, we get into Act 2 and see what challenges the characters face. Act 2 is when the rising action, obstacles, and climax are shown. Norma struggles to get approval for her script and also struggles with falling in love with Joe too. The fallen star tries to buy his love, but he still rejects her. She also struggles with self-harm and also being suicidal. Joe's obstacles would be trying to escape the quote-unquote prison, which would be Norma's clutch. He also tries to collaborate on a script with Betty, who overlooks the scripts at Paramount and deems them worthy or not. But when Norma finds out, she's outraged and tries to prevent Joe from continuing. Max's challenges would be trying to not let Norma discover that her days as a star are over, and she also keeping her mental state well since she's prone to self-harm. He doesn't want her to discover that her career has ended as the silent era ended too. Lastly, we get into Act 3 and see the results of their efforts. Act 3 has the stunning action and concludes the movie. The studio ends up rejecting Norma's script. She also shoots and murders Joe because he tried to leave her. The news spread very quickly, and she had a lot of people wanting to interview her at her house as she got escorted to the police car. Her mental state was messed up at this point, and she thinks everyone was there because they're going to shoot a movie with her. In the end, she thinks she got what she wanted, but was blinded by her mental state. Before Joe dies, he gets many expensive gifts from Norma, but still refuses her love and tries to leave, which ends in his death. When the police and reporters came for Norma, she wouldn't respond to them until Max said that it was time for her to shoot a movie. In order for Norma to go with the police, he had to act like a director for her. In the end, the characters sort of got what they wanted. In Norma's head, she was going to make another movie with her as a star. Joe was able to get a lot of expensive gifts and didn't have to worry about money, and Max was able to keep the illusion of Norma being a star still. Hollywood isn't an easy place to work. When changes happen, it affects a lot of aspects. This movie shows how those Hollywood changes can be toxic and corrupt other people.
In our group, we watched and analyzed Billy Wilder's 1950 film, Sunset Boulevard. Sunset Boulevard tells the story of down-on-his-luck screenwriter Joe Gillis. Joe has not had a writing job in a long time and is desperate for money. He eventually meets Norma Desmond, a former silent movie star desperately attempting to relive her glory days and hoping to make a comeback. Norma asks Joe to help her write the screenplay for her comeback movie, insisting that he live in her house and let her pay for all his expenses while they work together. The screenplay written by Norma is in actuality terrible, and no matter what she believes or is led to believe, Norma's days in the spotlight are over. Meanwhile, Joe sees an opportunity to escape both Norma's clutches and his screenwriting slump through a relationship with a young idealist scriptwriter at Paramount. Obsessively jealous, Norma foils this plan, and when Joe decides to leave anyways, she shoots and kills him. The next morning, reporters, detectives, and film cameras arrived at the house to cover the murder. Her descent into madness complete, Norma believes they are there to film her comeback movie and happily acts out a scene for the onlooking reporters.
I can't go on with the scene. I'm too happy. Mr. DeMille, do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you. I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again. You don't know how much I've missed all of you. And I promise you I'll never desert you again. Because after Salome, we'll make another picture and another picture. You see, this is my life. It always will be. There's nothing else. Just us. And the cameras. And those wonderful people out there in the dark. All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Director Billy Wilder utilizes characteristics of classic Hollywood plot structure and film noir, as well as the active participation of the very systems he was criticizing, to expose the potential toxicity of Hollywood, particularly that of the star and studio systems.
By the end of Sunset Boulevard, actress Gloria Desmond kills the screenwriter because she was going to leave her, and as she says, no one leaves a star. She's always been a big star and even says so in the film.
You're Norma Desmond. Used to be in silent pictures. Used to be big.
I am big. It's the pictures that got small.
I am big, it's the pictures that got small. By the end of the film, it is apparent that Norma Desmond is going to stay on top of her game no matter what the cost, even if it means killing someone. And by the end of the film, we see how ruthless and how toxic the film industry can be.
Oh, wake up, Norma. You'd be killing yourself to an empty house. The audience left 20 years ago. Now face it.
That's a lie! They still want me!
No, they don't.
What about the studio? What about DeMille?
He was trying to spare your feelings. The studio only wanted to rent your car.
Through her performance and the fact that all the screenwriter wanted to make was his comeback.
The studio system. The studio system is defined by the production of films by large studios. It is often used in reference to the golden age of cinema from the 1920s to the 1960s. However, that all changes when the sound is introduced, which stalls Norma Desmond's career. When the sound is introduced, it changes everything, and we see that it does take a toll on her psychic and her emotional state, as the change in cinema affects her well-being and takes a toll on her career.
So they opened their big mouths, and out came talk. Talk, talk!
That's where the popcorn business comes in. Buy yourself a bag and plug up your ears.
Look at them in the front offices. The masterminds. They took the idols and smashed them. The Fairbankses, the Gilberts, the Valentinos. And who have we got now? Some nobody.
Don't blame me. I'm not an executive, just a writer.
You are. Writing words. More words. Well, you've made a rope of words and strangled this business. But there's a microphone right there to catch the last gurgles. And Technicolor to photograph the red swollen tongue.
Characters in the film that represent the studio system are characters such as Cecil DeMille and Seldrick. In the film, we see that the screenwriter is meeting with the studio boss and wants to make his film. He meets Norma Desmond instead while running away from the police, and he thinks she can help out. The first time they meet, screenwriter Joe Gills is convinced that actress Norma Desmond can help out. She is wealthy and has lots of money. In the end, however, things don't go as planned. Screenwriter Joe Gills is shot 3 times and falls dead into the swimming pool, all for planning to leave the industry and abandoning actress Norma Desmond. In conclusion, the film Sunset Boulevard is a great example of not just the 50s and film noir, but paints a picture of what it's like for many of the stars in that time. It shows us examples from the star and studio system by telling a compelling story to go with it.